Lagos never sleeps. The air is thick with energy, the sound of impatient horns, shouting vendors, the scent of roasted corn mixed with exhaust fumes. In the middle of this organized chaos, stood a woman who turned every head without trying, Amora, a vision of elegance against the noisy backdrop of the city. Amara, a tall, light-skinned African woman in her mid-20s, was the kind of beauty that stopped time. Her skin glowed with a soft caramel hue, her long legs moved with grace, and her curvy silhouette, emphasized by a tight black designer dress, drew gazes everywhere. Her oval face was framed by long, silky, jet-black hair that cascaded past her shoulders, and her full lips were glossed in a soft red that shimmered under the morning sun. She walked in high heels, head held high, as if floating above the dusty pavement. She wasn't used to walking far. Most days, her private driver opened the door of her black Range Rover before her heels ever touched the ground. She lived in a world of wealth, air-conditioned boutiques, imported wine, expensive perfume, but something inside her always felt hollow. That morning, something unusual happened. As she stepped out of her SUV in front of a popular cafe, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Just across the street, sitting quietly against a cracked cement wall, was a man, still, silent, and watching the world pass him by. He didn't ask for money. He didn't stretch out a hand. He simply sat, as if observing life like a spectator to a game he had once played. Chinedu, a dark-skinned African man around 30, was unmistakably homeless. His dreadlocks were matted and dusty. His cheeks were sunken but his jawline sharp. His body was lean, almost too thin, dressed in ragged brown trousers and a faded, oversized t-shirt with holes in the shoulders. He had no shoes, his feet were toughened by years of barefoot living. Yet, his eyes were not empty. They were the color of deep mahogany, sharp and intelligent, as though they'd once seen privilege and had now chosen peace. When their eyes met, Amara felt something, not pity, not fear, but curiosity. She hesitated. Then did something that shocked even herself. She walked toward him. People stared. A few whispered. But Amara didn't care. She stopped in front of him, looking down. Her voice was calm, yet commanding. "You don't look like you belong here," she said. Chinedu looked up slowly, meeting her gaze. He didn't flinch. Didn't smile. Just observed. "And yet here I am," he replied softly. That one sentence caught her off guard. She paused, then smirked. "What if I offered you food, a bath, clean clothes, and a place to stay? But for 1 week, you'd belong to me." A silence fell between them. A street vendor's bell rang in the background. A taxi screeched by. But in that moment, it was just them. Chinedu blinked, then stood. Despite his dirty appearance, he stood tall and proud. His spine straight. His eyes steady. "Fine," he said. "But I'm no pet." Amara tilted her head, intrigued. "Good. I don't like pets anyway." And just like that, a contract unspoken, two different worlds collided. The rich girl didn't know she had just started a story she couldn't control. And the homeless man was far more than he appeared to be. The drive was silent. In the backseat of the Range Rover, Chinedu, the homeless man, with sharp jawline and sunken cheeks, sat quietly. His body remained still, but his eyes moved, studying the polished leather seats, the faint scent of designer perfume, the way the car's windows muted the noisy Lagos chaos outside. Next to him, in complete contrast, sat Amora, the rich girl. She scrolled through her phone, seemingly unaffected by the presence of a barefoot stranger in her luxury vehicle. When they arrived at her estate in Ikoyi, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Lagos, the gate opened automatically, revealing a white marble mansion surrounded by trimmed hedges and a private fountain. Chinedu's gaze didn't widen. He simply looked, thoughtful. As the car stopped, the housekeeper rushed out. Amara, a plump, cocoa-skinned woman in her 50s, wearing a traditional patterned wrapper and headscarf, froze when she saw Chinedu. Amora stepped out first, her heels clicking on the driveway tiles. "Bring him to the guest room. I'll call the stylist and the doctor," she ordered without looking back. Amara opened her mouth to ask questions but thought better of it. She nodded and beckoned Chinedu inside. The house smelled of vanilla and imported wood. Expensive art lined the walls. Chandeliers sparkled above marble floors. But as Chinedu walked slowly through the hallway, he didn't look impressed. He noticed everything: the stiff silence, the cold luxury, the emptiness behind beauty. In the guest room, everything was prepared: new clothes, clean towels, and a steaming bowl of jollof rice on the table. When Chinedu entered the private bathroom, he stared at his reflection. His deep mahogany eyes met his own, tired, wise, yet burning with something unspoken. He stepped into the warm shower. The water ran dark at first, then clear, then free. As he dressed in a clean white t-shirt and fitted jeans left for him, he looked almost new. But not changed. Just restored. Downstairs, Amara sipped her wine by the pool, pretending not to care. When Chinedu walked into the garden, clean and barefoot, she glanced up, and froze for a second too long. He looked taller now. His skin glowed under the sun. His jaw was still sharp, but no longer hollow. His dreadlocks were tied back, revealing more of his face, calm, firm, and confident. "You clean up well," she said, raising her glass. He smiled faintly. "So do you, under the makeup and pride." She blinked, caught off guard, again. There was something about him, something dangerous, something deep. She had brought him here to play, but now, she wasn't sure who was watching who. And in that brief moment, in her world of marble and money, she felt a shift. Something was changing. That evening, the villa took on a different life. Warm golden lights flickered across the white marble. The air smelled of roasted spices and grilled fish. Somewhere in the distance, soft Afro-jazz played through hidden speakers. Amora, the rich girl, now dressed in a silk emerald green dress that hugged her curvy figure, paced slowly through the dining room. A hint of rose perfume followed her. Dinner was ready, a full 3-course meal. But for once, the table was set for two. In the kitchen, Mama Efima, the plump, African woman in her 50s, wrapped in a red and blue patterned wrapper, was whispering with a younger maid. "Why would Madame eat with him?" she asked, peeking toward the dining area. "A man from the street?" But Amara didn't care what they thought. Not tonight. Upstairs, Chinedu, now clean and rested, stood before the mirror. The dark-skinned African man, early 30s, lean build, strong jaw, with neat dreadlocks tied into a low ponytail, wore a fitted black linen shirt and dark trousers. His feet were still bare, by choice. His deep mahogany eyes watched his own reflection as if trying to remember who he used to be, and who he was becoming. He walked down the marble stairs slowly. Every step echoed. And when he entered the dining room, Amara looked up, and for the first time, she smiled without defense. "You're late," she teased. He didn't reply. He just pulled the chair out and sat down. For a few minutes, they ate in silence. The clinking of cutlery was the only sound between them. Then he spoke. "Why did you bring me here?" Her fork paused midair. "Why not? You could have given me food and moved on. But you kept me." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "Does it bother you?" "No," he said softly. "It confuses me." She exhaled. "I was bored. Lonely, maybe. Everyone around me smiles for money. I thought you were honest. Raw." He smiled faintly. "I'm not a dog you can adopt, Amora." "I never said you were." There was tension, but not anger, something more fragile, more human. Their lives were so different. Yet something connected them in the quiet. They finished the meal. She stood, pouring red wine into 2 glasses. "To honesty," she said. He raised his glass slowly. "To curiosity." They clinked glasses. For the first time, the sound wasn't awkward. As the night deepened, they sat on the couch near the large window. The city lights sparkled in the distance. "Tell me," she asked, "what's your story?" He turned to her, his face bathed in soft light. "I was a builder. A good one. Until my brother died. I spent everything I had on his hospital bills. When the grief passed, so had my house, my savings, my job. Lagos doesn't wait for broken men." She was silent. "Why didn't you ask for help?" "I did. No one came." Now, it was she who had nothing to say. Her world had always provided. His had never forgiven. And yet, here they were. Side by side. Not strangers anymore, but not quite lovers either. The space between them was shrinking. Not with lust, but with trust. Something was growing. Something unscripted. The sun rose slowly over the heart of Lagos Island, casting golden hues on the balcony of Amora's villa. Birds chirped in the nearby flamboyant trees, and the usual hum of the busy city was beginning to swell. Inside, Amara, the rich girl, stepped barefoot into the living room in a flowing white satin robe. Her curvy silhouette moved gracefully, but her face was clouded with confusion. She had just checked the guest room. It was empty. The bed was made neatly. Too neatly. The bathroom was dry. The towel folded. And on the table sat the black linen shirt Chinedu had worn the night before, folded with care. No note. No goodbye. Her heart dropped. In the kitchen, Mama Efima stirred a pot while humming. But when she saw Amora's face, the humming stopped. "He's gone," Amora whispered. Without asking who he was, Mama Efima simply wiped her hands. She had known this would happen. "You gave him kindness," she said softly. "Sometimes, people don't know how to receive it." But Amora felt something deeper. This wasn't just shame or fear. It felt like something unfinished. Meanwhile, Chinedu, the homeless man, walked through the chaotic Oberland market. The sounds were loud, hawkers shouting, horns blaring, and the smell of fried plantains, exhaust, and sweat blending into a memory of struggle. He didn't belong to her world. Not really. Last night felt like a dream. And dreams, he believed, didn't last long in Lagos. He found his old spot near a closed bookshop. Sat on a concrete block. Head low. People passed by. No one noticed him. He preferred it that way. But as he sat there, hands clasped between his knees, the scent of rose perfume suddenly returned to him. He closed his eyes. Back at the villa, Amora was on the phone. Not calling anyone. Just holding the phone as if she might. Her light brown eyes stared out the large glass windows toward the busy city skyline. "I let you in," she whispered to no one. "And you walked away." Hours passed. Afternoon turned to evening. Then, she stood, walked to her bedroom, and changed. A soft pink dress. No makeup. Just her and a key in hand. She was going out. At the same moment, across the city, a street kid, Fola, a short, skinny, dark-skinned boy around 10 years old with dusty shorts and wide curious eyes, tugged on Chinedu's shirt. "Mister, you day cry?" Chinedu looked up. Hadn't even noticed the tears on his cheek. "No, small man. Dust enter my eye," he replied with a half-smile. The boy grinned and nodded. "Dust day plenty for this Lagos." Then, something changed. Chinedu stood. He had walked away from her. From a woman who had shown him dignity. Who had listened. Was he afraid of her love, or afraid he might be worthy of it? And so, under the soft amber sky of Lagos, two people searched for something they didn't know how to name. Not love. But maybe forgiveness. Maybe belonging. Maybe a second chance. The skies over Lagos Island turned grey as a gentle drizzle began to fall, turning the dust of the day into the scent of wet earth and pavement. The city's tempo slowed slightly, umbrellas popped open, vendors covered their goods, and cars honked more impatiently in the traffic jams forming under the moody clouds. But Amara, the rich girl, now tucked under a black silk headscarf, didn't seem to notice the drizzle as it began to fall. She walked steadily through the busy downtown streets of Broad Street, no driver, no umbrella, just her in a knee-length navy blue dress that clung slightly in the rain, and flat brown sandals. She had spent hours searching markets, back roads, and empty alleys. Every corner where Chinedu might have been. Until she remembered something. His eyes, when he had stared out the window at her home. They always landed on a distant rooftop, a flat-topped building with a small water tank on the side. She had thought nothing of it before. But maybe that rooftop meant something to him. She followed instinct. And soon, there she was, climbing a cracked concrete stairway in a forgotten part of town, heart pounding. On the rooftop of a rundown building in Butte Meta, Chinedu, the homeless man, now wet and loose, stood in the rain, eyes closed. He wore the same faded green t-shirt and jeans, now damp and clinging to him. This was his place, his escape. A spot he used to come to when he was just another invisible man on the street. From here, the world looked small. Manageable. He thought he was alone. But behind him, footsteps echoed. He turned slowly. And there she stood. Amora, soaked but radiant, breathing hard, her eyes wide. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind tugged at her scarf. "You left," she said softly. Chinedu's deep mahogany eyes, those eyes filled with both shame and longing, lowered. "I didn't belong there," he murmured. "Not in your world." She stepped closer. "Then what am I doing here?" she asked, voice trembling. "I left that world behind, to find you." The rain fell harder. Her dress clung tighter to her body. But neither cared. "I didn't buy you, Chinedu," she continued. "I saw you. I saw a man who was hurting, but still gentle. Still proud. I was afraid," he admitted, voice thick. "That if you saw who I really was, you'd leave." "I did see you," she said, placing a hand gently on his chest. "And I stayed." The rooftop was quiet now, except for the rain hitting metal sheets and satellite dishes. For the first time, Chinedu let the silence hold them. Then, gently, he reached up and brushed a raindrop from her cheek. They stood like that, close, unsure of what tomorrow would bring. But knowing something was different now. Not perfect. But real. Unscripted. 1 month later. The skies over Lagos had shifted. No more grey clouds. No more rain. Just golden sunlight cascading through the windows of a small but tastefully decorated art gallery tucked in a quiet corner of Ikoyi, one of the city's elite neighborhoods. Inside, voices echoed, soft jazz played in the background. The room smelled of wood polish, fresh flowers, and ambition. Standing proudly by the entrance, Chinedu, the homeless man, now clean-shaven with neat shoulder-length dreadlocks tied back, wore a crisp white linen shirt tucked into tailored beige trousers. His deep mahogany eyes sparkled with something new, peace. This was his first gallery opening. Each painting on the wall was a piece of his soul, stories of life on the streets, of invisible men and unheard voices. Raw. Powerful. Guests walked slowly, reading descriptions, pausing, whispering. Some were touched. Some were speechless. And then she arrived. Amora, the rich girl, entered wearing a flowing peach maxi dress with gold earrings that caught the light with every step. She looked stunning, not because of her wealth, but because of how she carried herself. Gentle, grounded, fully alive. The room paused briefly at her presence. Not because she was famous, but because something about her glowed. Their eyes met across the gallery. He smiled. Not the smile of a man impressed, but of one grateful. She moved toward him, slowly, confidently. Guests parted for her like water around a boat. "I almost didn't recognize you," she whispered, smiling warmly. "I almost didn't recognize myself," Chinedu replied with a laugh, his voice deeper and calmer now. They stood under a painting, the very first one he had ever created. It showed a lonely rooftop in the rain, 2 shadowy figures standing close. She recognized it instantly. "I still can't believe you did this," she said. "You believed in me before I believed in myself," he replied. He turned slightly, reached under the table and handed her a small notebook. "This is for you." Inside, she found sketches. Dozens of them. All of her. From different days, different angles, in different moods. Smiling. Laughing. Crying. Even sleeping. "You drew me," she whispered, overwhelmed. "I saw you," he said simply. Silence hung between them again, but this time it was warm. Full. Suddenly, a young boy ran up, around 7 years old, barefoot, wearing a worn school uniform. He clung to Chinedu's hand. "This is Junior," Chinedu explained softly. "One of the boys I used to watch over on the street. He lives with me now." The boy smiled shyly at Amora. She crouched down to his level. "You like art?" she asked. The boy nodded. "Well," she smiled, "then I guess you're in the right place." As the sun began to set, casting golden-orange light across the gallery, Amora, Chinedu, and Junior stood together, a scene that wasn't perfect. But it was real. No scripts. No masks. Just love. Unfiltered. Unscripted. In life, love is not scripted. It does not come dressed in wealth, comfort, or appearances. The story of Chinedu, the homeless man, and Amora, the rich girl, reminds us that real connection begins where status ends. What started as a moment of pity became a journey of healing, growth, and truth. Their story teaches us, never judge by the surface. Beneath ragged clothes could lie a gifted soul. Behind a polished smile could be a wounded heart searching for purpose. Thank you for watching this story. If it touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales that reflect true human emotions. And don't forget to leave a comment, would love to hear your thoughts.